Hello, friends. Let's discuss current affairs for the week. We begin with a question on the new president of Poland. This is the president elect. The guy will succeed Andrzej Duda. He is the current president. He will be succeeded by Karol Nawrocki. Now, Poland is, you know, um, a member of the European Union, and as you know, my friends, you know, before 1989, it was a communist country. It was a communist country, part of what is called the Soviet Union. It was a satellite of the Soviet Union. Soviet Union was also called the USSR, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Now, this country existed between 1922 and 1991, and in 1989, Poland gave up the ghost of communism. So, from a single party state, that is a communist party state, it became a multi party democracy. And today, it has a thriving democracy. Nawrocki has come to succeed Duda. And you also need to know that the capital of Poland is Warsaw. What is it? This is the capital, Warsaw. And ladies and gentlemen, the currency, if you go to Poland, you would need to have this currency, zloty. It's a member of the European Union, but it's not a member of the Eurozone. So this is how it is. So you could use euros, but more importantly, zloty is the currency that you would need to use in Poland. This guy is the prime minister. Donald Tusk is the prime minister of Poland. It's a presidential republic, so that's how the system works, my friends. Okay. So I guess that's a little about it. Who has been elected as a new president of the next president of the United Nations General Assembly. See, the UN has 6 principal organs. One is the General Assembly. Okay, this is one. Then, I think I need to clear this and bring this in here. Okay, number 2 would be the Security Council. 3, Trusteeship Council. Earlier, that is during the days of colonization, basically, after the UN had come about, there are plenty of countries that were still, were under, were very small, of course, but were under colonies of European powers. And some of these had gained independence, but were too young, too small to manage their own affairs. So they were kept in the UN's trust. So this is Trusteeship Council. Then comes the ECOSOC, the Economic and Social Council, the Economic and Social Council. Then the International Court of Justice, which, as you know, is in Hague. Number 6 is the Secretariat. Okay, the Secretariat is headed by the UN Secretary General, currently Antonio Guterres. So these are the 6 principal organs of the UN. This plus this 3 plus this are all headquartered in New York State. They are headquartered in New York City. New York City. ICJ, as you would know, is headquartered in The Hague. The Hague is a city in the Netherlands. Okay, that's about it. Now, what about Annalena Baerbock? She is German. She's from Germany, and she will take the place of this guy. She's going to succeed Yang, who is from Cameroon. He is from Cameroon. Cameroon, as you know, is a country in Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, and this lady will take the place of Yang in September 2025. This is a year term, 1 year term. So between September 2025 next year, August next year, she will be heading the UN General Assembly. As you would know, the choices here, there are plenty of choices. In fact, 3 choices, 5 in total. One is the right answer. The other, choice 1 is the one who is going to leave the office of the UN General Assembly presidency. Ursula von der Leyen is the president of the European Commission. Kristalina Georgieva is the MD and CEO of the International Monetary Fund. So, International Monetary Fund here, this is the European Commission. Angela Merkel, not Angela, Angela, A-N-G-E-L. Angela Merkel is a former Chancellor of Germany. Which volcano, Europe's most active, recently erupted in Italy with Strombolian explosions? Um, this is Etna. Mount Etna is on Sicily. It's on Sicily. It's a small island near Italian mainland. So Sicily is where you would find. Stromboli is also on Sicily. Yeah. Vesuvius, I think, is on Italian mainland. It's in Naples. It's in Naples. So all three are in Italy. Fuji, as you would know, is in Japan. Okay. Now I want, what about Tambora? It's in Indonesia. It's in Indonesia. I want you to know that Etna is one of the 16, what are they called? Death volcanoes. There are 16 death volcanoes. These are called death volcanoes primarily because of, their extraordinary interest they generate in volcanologists. Now, the idea, or some people call them death volcanoes, some people call them decade volcanoes. Both are fine, my friends. Oh, I made a mistake there. No, it was right, I think. I'm decade volcano. Okay. So, some places death, some other places you can find decade. So, 16 decade volcanoes are being studied by volcanologists for two particular reasons. One, they have had massive explosions, massive eruptions, and two, they are located in highly densely populated cities. Highly populated cities, sometimes highly densely populated cities. So, for these reasons, these volcanoes are of special interest to these guys. Okay. So, there we go. From here, by the way, Etna is what is called a stratovolcano. What is it called? Stratovolcano. A stratovolcano goes like this. Okay. Now, this is a conical shape. So, a stratovolcano has a conical shape. This is called a vent. There is a vent here, a pipe kind of thing. You see there is a, open area, and usually it's open and collapsed. That's called caldera. It's called caldera. I have great interest in this, learning about these kinds of things. So, I would want you to learn these things. On which date is the World Bicycle Day observed every year to promote cycling as a sustainable and healthy mode of transport? Ladies and gentlemen, June 3rd. And incidentally, when I actually saw this presentation and I saw this June 3rd, what came to my mind was not World Bicycle Day, but it's the Partition of India Day. On June 3rd, 1947, the Partition of India was announced. Okay, it was announced that on this day, the subcontinent shall be divided along, on the basis of religion. That is, a homeland for Muslims and, of course, the rest for Hindus and other communities. So that's how it came about, my friends, the two-nation theory. Let me tell you a little about this. May 31st, No Tobacco Day, World No Tobacco Day. No Tobacco Day. Okay. July 1st is Doctor's Day. It's called Doctor's Day, but it is peculiar to India. It's nowhere, it's not celebrated elsewhere. And you would know June 5th is, what is that? World Environment Day. It's very difficult to ride a bicycle in our place because India lacks dedicated cycle paths, and you would find that even in the cycle path, you would find two-wheelers, you would find people walking around, creating all kinds of, hazards for cyclists. Which team won the 18th Indian Premier League? Indian Premier League, as you know, is a T20 championship between, teams. Usually Indian teams populated by Indian team. Most players are Indians, but there are foreigners as well. This is the richest cricket league in the world, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, the IPL this year was won by RCB. So, they were the winners. Punjab were the runners-up. What about the orange cap? Orange cap is, as you know, is for most runs. and this was won by, what's his name? Sai Sudarshan. Sai Sudarshan. He belongs to GT, Gujarat Titans. Gujarat Titans. Then comes purple cap for most wickets. For most wickets, this was taken home by Prasidh Krishna. Prasidh Krishna, and Prasidh Krishna is also from GT. He is also from GT. But the most valuable player was Surya Kumar Yadav of Mumbai Indians. So MVP, most valuable player, okay, Sky, Surya Kumar Yadav of Mumbai Indians. Yeah. Chennai Super Kings, I think they won the Fair Play Award, though they did not make it to playoffs also. But yeah, end of the day, that's how it's the standings are basically. Yeah. So, who was honored with the 2025 Global Leadership Award by the US India Strategic Partnership Forum? Kumar Mangalam Birla, the chairman of Aditya Birla Group. Aditya, you write it, Birla Group. Okay. Aditya Birla Group owns a lot of companies. Grasim, Grasim, Grasim apparel company. Then you have Hindalco, which is Hindustan Aluminium Company, one of the world's largest aluminium makers. They own Ultratech, which is one of the world's largest cement companies. They are a major partner in this company called Vodafone Idea. Idea is owned by them. Okay. They own a lot of apparel brands. They own this company called Madura Garments, okay, or Aditya Birla Retail Fashion, otherwise called Aditya Birla Retail Fashion, which owns brands like Peter England, Louis Philippe, Van Heusen, and what is that called? Alan Solly. Okay, so they own a lot of brands. And ladies and gentlemen, N. Chandrasekharan is Natarajan Chandrasekharan. He is the chairperson of Tata Sons. Tata Sons, as you know, is a holding company, the parent company of the Tata Group. Sundar Pichai, CEO of Alphabet. What is the company? Alphabet, and of course CEO of Google as well. The holding company of Google is Alphabet. Satya Nadella, the chairperson and CEO of Microsoft Corporation. Mukesh Ambani, you all know, is the CMD of Reliance Industries. Reliance Industries. As per the new policy introduced by the Indian government, what percentage of government jobs in Ladakh will be reserved for local residents? 85%. Now, Ladakh itself is a very, has a very small population, about 2.75 lakh is the population. The area is 59,000 square kilometers. Okay, 59,000 square kilometers. If you look at the density, it comes to 4.6 persons per square kilometers. This is India's, among union territories, the least populated, densely populated place, 4.6. Isn't it small? Yeah. And Ladakh as a union territory is run by Bal Dutt Mishra. Bal Dutt, retired Brigadier Bal Dutt Mishra. So they are going to keep aside 85% of jobs for the locals, in Ladakh. The Chenab Bridge, the world's highest railway bridge, is in J&K. Yeah, it is in J&K. This is, as the name says, Chenab. It's built on the river Chenab, and this is the height is 359 meters. Height is 359 meters. Ladies and gentlemen, its length is this much, 13-15 meters. That makes it 1.3 kilometer long. Okay, the entire stretch kind of thing. So, apart from this, of course, see, when we say this is a height, remember one thing, it is important for you to know that from the river, from the bottom basically to the top of the arch. So, 359 meters there. And this is on the Jammu Baramulla lane or rail line, Baramulla line. This is in Riyasi district. The district of Riyasi. So that's a bit about the Chenab River. I could have had a photo, but I think I just skip my mind to have a photo. Usually there are a lot of photos and maps in our video talks. Jammu and Kashmir is a union territory headed by Manoj Sinha, Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha. Yeah. The Sikkim, I'll just tell you about Sikkim. Sikkim was not a part of India till 1975. That year, Sikkim became a part of India, through an instrument of accession. Right? It was an independent Buddhist kingdom till 1975. There was a Raja here who was named Chogyal. The title was Chogyal. Which Indian organization has signed an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding, with Norway's Kongsberg Oslo to build India's first ever polar research vessel. Polar research vessel basically would help our scientists understand, cold places like Antarctica and Arctic. We already have 3 research stations. In Antarctica, we have 2. There is a T missing. Antarctica, okay. There are 2. One is Himadri. One is Bharati. The other is Maitri. And in the Arctic, we have Himadri. So these are our research stations across the 2 poles. Okay. So we're going to build a new one in most likely Antarctica. Okay. And this will be built by a public sector company called Garden Reach Shipbuilders and Engineers in partnership with Kongsberg Oslo of Norway. Norway is a global leader in shipbuilding, my friends. So that's about it. Hardly anything else to discuss for us. Which country has not been elected as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council? As you know, the UN Security Council has 5 permanent members and 10 non-permanent members. 5 permanent members have veto power, non-permanent members don't have veto power. So the UN Security Council comprises 15 members. Okay, these 4 have been elected for a term that would start in January 1st, 2026. I'll just tell you the capitals, the presidents and all that are not important. Colombia, Bogota, that's the capital. The president, of course, is a guy called Gustavo Petro, and recently there was a presidential hopeful who was, campaigning. He was attacked, he was shot in the head, 2 shots in the head at close range. He is hospitalized now. So Riga is the capital of Latvia. It's a Baltic state. Bahrain is a kingdom. Its capital is Manama. Liberia, Monrovia. Okay. This country was created in 1822 as a homeland for the freed slaves of Europe and America. So this was Africa's first republic. 1847, it became a republic. It declared independence. But the British did not, the Americans did not recognize it till 1862. But it is Africa's oldest republic. Which nation won the presidency of the International Institute of Advanced Administrative Sciences in June 2025? India. And I just tell you something, that this is headquartered in Brussels. There's nothing extraordinary about this organization. So, any which way. We discussed Poland, Austria, the capital is Vienna. And this is home to an organization called the International Atomic Energy Agency. Remember, International Atomic Energy Agency. Oh my God, what's happening? Yeah. International Atomic Energy Agency is a UN body headquartered in Vienna, the capital of Austria. Malaysia is home to 2 capitals. It has 2 capitals. One is Kuala Lumpur. The other is Putrajaya. Singapore city is Singapore city. It's a city-state, small one. Name the Netherlands Prime Minister who resigned due to a lack of House majority. Dick Schoof. He couldn't muster enough, numbers in the House, so he couldn't prove the majority and he resigned. What about the choices? Kristen Frostadottir is the Prime Minister of Iceland. Prime Minister, Iceland. Island in the North Atlantic Ocean. Ulf Kristersson, Prime Minister, Sweden. Sweden. Alexander Stubb, President, Finland. Finland. Mette Frederiksen, Prime Minister of Denmark. Denmark. It's a constitutional, Netherlands, Sweden, Denmark. They are constitutional monarchies. There is a monarch as the head of the state, my friends. India exchanged the instrument of ratification of the bilateral investment treaty with Kyrgyzstan. It's a country in Central Asia. You have these 5 countries: Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. Yeah, there is of course Uzbekistan we mentioned. Kyrgyzstan's capital is Bishkek. Yeah, it is Bishkek, and the president is a guy called Sadir Zaparov. Sadir Zaparov. Okay. There is another country in Central Asia, and that the name is Turkmenistan. The capital is Ashgabat. This is a highly isolated country. It does not have much of relations with the outside world, and the president is a dictator here. I mean, he's real crazy. His papa was super crazy, and papa's predecessor was mad man. That guy was a guy called Saparmunat Niyazov. He was succeeded by Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov, and currently Gurbanguly's son Sardar Berdimuhamedov is a Raja. Sorry, he is a president. Berdimuhamedov. You can learn a lot of good things, man, if you are just interested. I suggest you learn a little about Turkmenistan. You'll be surprised to know about the kind of dictatorship they have in this country. Yeah. Armenia's capital is Yerevan. And the prime minister here is a guy called Nikol. I didn't want to give you this name, but anyway, Nikol Pashinyan. That's a prime minister. Okay. So these kinds of deals happen all the time, my friends. All of these deals are about deepening investment, deepening cooperation, especially in defense and economy. Those things, nothing more than that. Okay. With which company did the French, France-based Dassault Aviation partner for a Rafale fighter fuselage. Fuselage is when you have this aircraft basically. Okay. An aircraft like this, there are wings, let's say. This part is called fuselage. Okay. Wings. This is called fuselage. My drawing skills are, really bad, but then that's a fuselage. Okay. And Dassault, the answer is already there. Dassault, my friends, is headquartered in Paris. It was started by a man called, the founder of this company was Marcel Bloch, and the CEO is Eric Trappier. Eric Trappier. This is the CEO of this company. Eric Trappier. I think Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is headed by D.K. Sunil. D.K. Sunil. Who became the first woman officer from the Indian Navy to become the aide-de-camp to the President of India. The President of India has 5 ADCs, aide-de-camp. These ADCs act as go-betweens, communicators, coordinators between the President, who is the Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, and the 3 armed services. Okay, so 3 defense wings, go between with the president is the aide-de-camp. Currently, Lieutenant Commander Yashasvi Solanki. She is the first woman from the Indian Navy to become, ADC to the President of India. As per the 2025 Candier Hurin India Leaders list, identify the statements. All of them are right. Like, Mumbai is of course the business hub, and they have India's most influential women. It is home to India's most influential women. The philanthropy category, Rohini Nilekani. She is the spouse of Nandan Nilekani, co-founder of Infosys. Of course, she is in her own right a very powerful person. She is a social reformer, social worker, and educationist. Rohini Nilekani contributed the most, almost 154 crores, and most of this donation has gone towards education. Especially, I think her husband Nandan Nilekani made the highest donation to any education institute in India, about 300 crores to IIT Bombay, where he studied. Roshni Nadar Malhotra, chairperson of HCL, Hindustan Computers Limited. She is the next generation leaders. Of course, her father, Shiv Nadar, was a founder of HCL, and if you look at HCL Shiv Nadar, you would know that he is nicknamed the father of India's IT industry, the father of India's computer industry, not IT, computer industry. Devanshi Kejriwal is a co-founder of Skillmatics. Of course, Skillmatics has been founded by Devanshi and another guy called Dhwanil. I could not really get the name, but this is the name. Dhwanil Seth is a co-founder of Skillmatics. Okay. So, from here, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the next one. And what does it read like? Which is the first Indian e-commerce company to secure a non-banking finance corporation license from the Reserve Bank of India, which would help it become, sell loans. It's called selling loans to, customers and sellers. I mean, anyone can now, Flipkart can do this basically. Yeah, it's more or less an NBFC. But who owns Flipkart? Flipkart is owned by Walmart. It's owned by Walmart, which is the world's largest retail company. Okay. And it was started by Sachin, two friends, Sachin and Binny. Sachin and Binny Bansals. Both Bansals, but not related. Okay. Nykaa was founded by Falguni Nair. Okay, one last choice, Falguni Nair, founder CEO. You all know Amazon was founded by Jeff Bezos, isn't it? Which public sector bank has acquired stakes in two insurance ventures of Future Generali? Generali is an Italian company. Okay. Future is an Indian group, but now it more or less does not exist. It owned all these. It was started by, Kishore Biyani, Biyani. He owned at one point, he owned Pantaloons, Big Bazaar, Food Bazaar. He owned a lot of businesses, but the company went bad. I mean, the company accumulated a lot of debt. So he had to sell the retail arm to Reliance. Of course, the answer is here. Central Bank of India CEO is Mattam Venkata Rao. Union Bank of India, A. Money Mekhalai. State Bank of India, you all know, Challa Srinivasulu Setti. Bank of Baroda, headed by Debadatta Chand. Punjab National Bank is headed by Ashok Chandra. So from here, the next one, in June 2025, the first week of June 2025, the Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee cut the repo rate, policy repo rate. What's the repo rate? It's the rate of interest charged by the RBI on short-term loans to commercial banks. Let me repeat. Repo rate is the rate of interest charged by the RBI on short-term loans to the commercial banks. Now, what was it? It was at 6%. Now it's 5.5%. Okay, 50 basis point is 0.5%. 0.5%. So what would happen? Loans would become cheaper. Now banks can borrow from the RBI at a lower rate of interest. So they benefit. The 0.5% is a benefit. So they may like to pass this on to the consumers. Now why would this? Because see, there are a lot of banks, and if one bank says, okay, let's to attract the customer, because interest rates are very high today, not many borrowers are there. So if interest rates go down, people will borrow. If people borrow, we'll make paisa on interest, isn't margin and all. But for that, people have to borrow. So one way to incentivize people to borrow money, which they could use to buy cars, homes, gadgets, or invest in businesses, invest in stocks, or whatever. Basically, the idea is to promote lending, promote borrowing, basically by consumers. So to attract the customer, the best way is to reduce interest rates, to make the loans cheaper, attractive consumers. So what will happen as loans become cheaper? Consumers may find it incentive. Consumers may be incentivized to borrow money and spend. It's a good thing, because see, if consumers spend, when consumers borrow, what happens? When consumers borrow, when loans become cheaper, loans become cheaper. I'll write here. Loans become cheaper. Interest rates go down. Loans become cheaper. So you have more money. If you are buying if you have a big home loan, you can save some money on the EMI. So what would you do? You will keep that money, and maybe you can splurge that money, buy somewhere else. Or if the loans become cheaper, you will borrow money to buy a bike. So you create demand for a bike. What goes into bike? Iron, steel, cables, all kinds of things. So that automobile company creates demand for all. Because it's selling more, the demand is more. It tries to employ people to be able to manufacture them. And as people are employed, they get incomes in their hands. When they have income, they have higher purchasing power. When they have a higher purchasing power, they may demand goods and services. So they may go to cinema, they may go to restaurant, they have access, they splurge money. Got the idea? So it's a it's a virtuous cycle. Lower interest rates encourages borrowers to borrow money and spend. That's how it works. That's the idea. Currently, the demand has gone down. The Indian economy is stalling. It's actually going, overall growth is going down because people are worried about the future. The same rule is applied to CRR, cash reserve ratio. I'll come to that in a bit. So when people are worried about the future, they don't spend paisa. When they don't spend paisa, what happens? The demand contracts. So if you're a seller, if you're a producer, there is no demand for your product, what would you do? You will try to cut down cost. When you try to cut down cost, what's the best way to cut down cost? Because inventory, stocks are piled up, there is no demand. So to cut cost, to say in business, you will fire employees. When people are fired, they don't have jobs. When they don't have jobs, they don't have incomes. When they don't have incomes, they don't have purchasing power. And if I don't have purchasing power, my demand for goods and services will decrease. And this happens across the economy. It's not a good thing. So on the other side, interest rates go down. People could become, incentivized, could be made to borrow, could be pushed to borrow. What's the attraction? Lower interest rates. Yeah. Starlink is owned by Elon Musk, and it's got a license in India to provide satellite internet connectivity. So in remote parts of India, now internet connectivity could come. But it's, as of now, it's the pricing has not come, but it is likely to be a little more expensive than most people can afford. Okay. So Starlink, Elon Musk owns a company called SpaceX. What is it? SpaceX. Space Exploration Corporation. Space Exploration Corporation. The X is Exploration Corporation. SpaceX owns Starlink. Okay. You know Jeff Bezos, Amazon guy, Bill Gates, and a guy called Paul Allen, Paul, Paul Allen and Bill Gates started Microsoft. Warren Buffett was a long time chairperson of a company called, chairperson and CEO of a company called Berkshire Hathaway. He's just announced his retirement. Donald Trump, as you all know, is the president of the United States. On June 5th, 2025, India and Vietnam, I guess, have signed, a cooperation deal in the media and entertainment sector. As I told you, the deals happen all the time. So the more important thing is Vietnam. Vietnam's capital is Hanoi. What is the capital? Hanoi. It's a communist single-party state. Philippines is capital Manila. Remember, Manila is also home to the Asian Development Bank. Asian Development Bank. Austria, we discussed. Thailand, the capital is Bangkok. They're going to have, there already a lot of political instability in Thailand. Identify the correct statements between the RBI's new norms concerning gold-backed loan scheme. So when people, are running short on money, they borrow by pawning gold. P-A-W-N, pawn. Girvi rakna. In Hindi it's called girvi. In Telugu, I think it's called takatu. I don't know what it's called in different other languages. But yeah, P-A-W-N, pawn. Okay. So it's kind of a collateral. The bank would ask you, okay, if I lend you money, what would you give me as security? Because, there is always a danger that you may run away with the money. I mean, you may not repay the money. So, that the security you put is called collateral. Collateral. So, usually for the bank, the safest asset, many people say, is gold. But then there is issue. Gold is volatile. Often it's volatile. Many people say it's stable. Not really, my friends. Okay. There was this decline in gold price in the 2000s. For about 7 years, the price of gold was lower than what it was, let's say in X year. In 2004, the price of gold was X. It fell from X, it fell actually. And till 2009, it did not recover to that previous level. So it's to say that it's the safe asset, it's not always true. Now there are a lot of geopolitical tensions, Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Iran, China, Taiwan, we have India, Pakistan, yeah. So there is this what's Trump doing with trade policies and all that stuff. So banks, you could go to a bank and lend, borrow money, and the bank may ask you, okay, we'll lend you money provided you put some gold or some security. So you have gold, and you have gold you put there. The gold today is worth 100 rupees. The bank will give you max of 85 rupees. That's it. Earlier it was 70 rupees. Now it's, of course, it varied between banks, but max they would give you 75% of the value of the gold, the market value of the gold. Because see, it's a market value. What if the price crashes tomorrow? So bank may lose, isn't it? So what the bank does is, it keeps on some margin between the current value of the gold, market value, and the loan amount that could be dispensed. So what is it now? The max that could be given is how much? 5 lakh rupees. Yeah, it has been increased to 5 lakh rupees. LTV for loan to value of loans up to 2.5 lakh rupees. If I had to borrow, the bank may lend up to 85% of the gold value, which is phenomenally good. The margin for the bank is shrinking. You will see this. Earlier it was 75%. Now it's 85%. Now, but banks are eager to lend money because that's how they are, They always want to earn paisa. But as you know, there is always a risk here. Again, between 2.5 to 5 lakhs, it is 80%. But the maximum it is 5 lakh rupees. Not beyond 5 lakh rupees will the bank lend you paisa. What is the new cash reserve ratio announced by the RBI in its bi-monthly monetary policy? 3%. Earlier it was 4%. That's a phenomenal decrease, my friends. 25% decrease from 4%. So I'll tell you what is it. Cash reserve ratio is the total percentage. I'll give you the definition. Cash reserve ratio is the total percentage of all, I'll put it this way. Is the total percentage of time and demand deposits. Okay, that a bank has, it has to keep a percentage of that with RBI. So how does the definition go? All commercial banks must keep a certain percentage of their time and demand deposits with the RBI. So what are time deposits? Time deposits have a time duration, so fixed deposits. So money put into a fixed deposit can be withdrawn only after a fixed period of time. That's why they are called time deposits. Demand deposits, if you put money into these accounts, you can withdraw on demand. So savings account, current account. Money put into these accounts. A bank majorly has these kinds of accounts. Of course, there is RD and all that, which is time deposit. But percentage of this money has to be kept with the RBI. Earlier, it was 4%. It was 4%, which meant that 4% of whatever a bank had collected through deposits, it had to keep with the RBI. Now, what is it? 3%. The difference of 1% is going to release 2.5 lakh crore rupees into the market. Yes. So, 2.5 lakh crore will come into the hands of the commercial banks. Earlier, they had to keep 4%, now they have to keep only 3%, which effectively means they have more paisa. And what do the banks do with paisa? They try to lend. To attract the customer, they will reduce interest rates. The same repo rate thing, they will reduce interest rates. And who will benefit? Consumers will benefit. The economy will benefit, because when you lend money, with a lower interest rate, the consumer benefits because he has to pay lower interest rate. The bank benefits because whatever it is, we are lending, we'll make up with margin, lot of volume basically. So, in all, it's a good idea, but there is always a risk. People may borrow and not repay. So, banks may pile up NPS, non-performing assets, especially personal loans and all. So, because the economy is not doing well, despite all that you read in newspapers and all that, it's not really doing well because consumer demand has decreased. See, the summer, for example, the summer was not very hot in some parts of South India and East India as well as West India. There was intermittent rainfall in May. So, that brought down the heat, which also meant that people did not see the need to buy ACs. Okay. So, that meant that the demand for ACs went down. So, companies sold fewer ACs. They piled up inventory, stocks and all that. In North India, the heat was intense. So, the sales of ACs went up by 10% over last year. But there was a 25% decrease in other parts of India. 10% increase in North, but the rest of India went down by 25%. Still, it's not a good thing, isn't it? So, plus you look at talcum powder. Talcum powder, when it's very hot, Indians love to use talcum powder, isn't it? So, they put here and there, wherever basically. Now, for the same reasons that AC sales went down, talcum powder sales also went down. So, companies suffered a lot. Yeah. And as inflation, another reason is inflation, if you put more money, the one danger of this is lower repo rate, lower CRR is that there could be inflation. More money comes to the market, people have more paisa, they demand more goods and services, supply may not adjust in the short run. What may happen? Prices may increase. That may lead to, inflation. But the RBI is willing to accommodate that. Inflation is quite low today. Okay, the target is 4% plus or minus 2%. So, maximum band is 6%, lower band is 2%. A certain amount of inflation is necessary to create demand in the market, my friends. So, overall, my friends, the economy is not doing well, keeping in mind the decrease in demand across sectors, higher inflation. The RBI has reduced CRR by 1%, repo rate by 0.5%, thereby, decreasing interest rates that the banks have to pay to the RBI. And also the RBI, the consumers will have to pay less interest to the commercial banks, which would mean that they would have more paisa with them. And, more paisa would mean that they could use that money to spend elsewhere. Okay, loans become cheaper, you could buy a bike, you could buy a car, you could buy anything that you want, but then you have to repay the paisa. Okay, that's the bottom line, my friends. Nothing is free in this world. So, That's all from me, Bharat C. Jain. Have a lot of fun. Stay curious.